I've spent years waiting for someone to make a proper Berserk game. Koei Tecmo tried with Berserk and the Band of Hawk, and for me, it was a huge disappointment. From Software never made one either, even though Berserk has inspired games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring for years. Then the first Berserker Khazan was revealed at the Game Awards 2023, and within minutes I knew it. This is probably the closest Berserk fans will ever get to a true Berserk game. Berserk released in 1989, and the anime adaptation came out in 1997, just 2 years after I was born. Ever since I watched the anime series and read all 42 manga volumes, I've been fascinated by how dark, mature, brutal, and emotional the story is. Even Miyazaki has referenced Berserk many times in games like Dark Souls, Elden Ring, and honestly, he's not wrong for doing that. For years I always wished From Software would one day make a proper Berserk game. Then Berserk and the Band of Hawk released on PS4, PS Vita, and PC. I was so excited to buy it on my PS Vita, because I thought this was finally going to be the Berserk game I had always dreamed about. But the disappointment hit me hard. The game felt lazy, repetitive, and far too similar to Dynasty Warriors. Don't get me wrong, Dynasty Warriors gameplay works perfectly for Dynasty Warriors, but Berserk deserved something darker, more atmospheric, more brutal, and more meaningful than endless copy and paste battlefields. Then the first Berserker Khazan arrived. Without spoiling anything, the story follows Khazan, a legendary general who was once celebrated as a hero, but suddenly betrayed and branded a traitor by the empire he served. After surviving near death, Khazan begins a brutal journey for revenge, answers, and truth in a dark fantasy world filled with war, corruption, demons, and powerful enemies. And honestly, the story hit me emotionally the same way Berserk did. There were moments that genuinely felt tragic and brutal, and some scenes gave me the same feelings I had while watching the anime and reading the manga. The combat focuses heavily on deflection and parrying, and I honestly believe this is the second best parry system after Sekiro. The combat also reminded me a lot of Nioh 2, because of the fast abilities, combos, and aggressive gameplay style. The game uses a hub system similar to Demon Souls and Nioh, where you select different missions and areas to explore. After finishing missions, you unlock side quests for NPCs that reward you with important items and upgrades that help throughout your journey. What surprised me most in that level design never felt repetitive. Every area had different challenges, enemy placements, shortcuts, and atmosphere that kept me interested the entire time. You can choose between 3 weapon types: Greatsword, Dual Blades, and Spear. And of course I used the Greatsword for almost my entire playthrough, because it gave me that heavy Berserk feeling, the massive hits, the steel clang sound effects, and the weight behind every attack felt incredibly satisfying. The bosses were another huge highlight for me. Most of the main bosses felt balanced, challenging, and extremely well designed. There are a few side mission bosses that reuse designs with small changes, but thankfully the main story bosses are genuinely memorable. One thing I really appreciated is how the game handles Lacrima, which is basically this game's version of Soul's Ruins. When fighting bosses, you don't lose all your progress completely. You can still gain levels from damage you deal, even if you die repeatedly. I remember fighting the Viper, one of the first major challenges in the game, and even though I kept dying, I still gained around 5 levels simply from learning the fight and dealing damage. The game doesn't punish you for dying. Instead, it wants you to learn, practice, and gradually master each boss fight. That alone shows how confident the developers are in their boss design. The skill tree system also gives a lot of freedom for different playstyles, depending on your weapon choice, and the armor variety is honestly crazy. Some of the armor and weapon designs look incredible and fit the dark fantasy atmosphere perfectly. The voice acting is also fantastic, especially with Ben Starr delivering another amazing performance. And finally, the world design itself is beautiful in such a dark Gothic way. Every hub and environment feels atmospheric, ruined, and haunting. Combined with the enemy variety, the game rarely felt repetitive or boring to play. The first Berserker Khazan may not officially be a Berserk game, but honestly, this is the closest I've ever felt to actually playing one. Thanks for listening, and consider subscribing and comment. Let me know what do you think about Khazan.